Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a great summer. Let's go ahead and start talking about this week's chapter, Reimagining the Way We Teach Phonics. In that chapter, the teacher shares some nagging concerns, the authors call them. The concerns that I think any of us who've ever taught students to read can easily claim that we have. We're concerned when we see students who maybe were really tuned into phonics kind of turn off. They become less engaged as we go through. Maybe they don't apply what they've learned. They are not able to write using those sounds. You're unsure about who knows or who doesn't know those patterns. These are all concerns that the teacher had in the chapter, and I think that a lot of us would share as well. One specific concern that they talk about is just how learning letters is different than learning about other objects. They use the example of a dog. A child can identify usually standing up, lying on its back. They still know it's a dog. But take something like a letter, like a B, and it's flipped or it's turned, and it is something different. So, learning letters, as this quote tells us, involves rewiring the brain. The one way to help people do that is provide three-dimensional letters for children to manipulate and practice visual discrimination. Giving them something to hold and manipulate helps them to rewire the brain, helps them to understand how things might look differently as they're moved around and how those are different letters, depending on the way they're turned or flipped. They also talk about what a strong phonics program would be. You need a research informed scope, what you're going to teach, a sequence, the order you'll teach it in, the instructional routines, how you're going to teach. Not only those things, but you also need to be able to explicitly teach how sounds and letters make words. That's that alphabetic principle. And then how sounds are blended together to make words through that practice of blending and breaking words apart, and that your program gives you plenty of time for thoughtful practice, assessment, and review. They don't particularly endorse any specific program, but these are the things that they say would be present in a very good program. They show this diagram, which I thought was really interesting, about how you start out with your initial instruction. Your new content is introduced explicitly, you teach it, then you see who has it, and then depending on your assessment results, you differentiate based on those findings. So that circle, that spiraling that keeps on taking us back to reviewing and helping students who don't quite have the mastery yet. In fact, they talk about mastery with this quote from Wiley Blevins, and they're quoting him, who he's kind of the phonics guru. When you adopt a mastery focus, it changes the way you teach, write lessons, and assess a skill. Once a skill is introduced, you are in it for the long haul. I really like that because it means you're starting, but you're committing to keeping that instruction going until everybody has it. Don't give up until all your students can successfully apply to authentic reading and writing experiences weeks or months after the initial introduction. So you introduce something, you keep going back to it, helping children apply. The scope and sequence really tell you where you start. They don't tell you when to stop. So just that spiraling, that going back through, helps us to understand that. Now, I was really going through and thinking about ways to try to make phonics instruction a little bit more active, because a lot of times it's a lot of sitting. And so I remember that I had done at one point this sticky note activity where you write on the board different letters with blanks that could be filled in. This is a CVC, consonant vowel consonant pattern. And you hide sticky notes around the room. Oh, I'm trying to get into my camera. There we go. That have the missing vowel. And then you let children go around the room and find those missing vowels and place them into that word. Now, this one's going to be a nonsense word, isn't it? Died. So they're going to have to record that as a nonsense word. But if they put the O into M blank P, it's mop. And they can record that. You can go around and have them just find the letters that they're finding and stick them in. This one makes hat. It's just a fun way to get kids up out of their chair and practicing. And as this chapter tells us, practicing is such an important part of making sure that they master those phonics. And you could do that for any sound. This was CVC, but as students go through and learn harder patterns, you can certainly apply that as well. So in your notes below, I'm putting just the directions for this activity as well as a little recording sheet. All right, I'll see you next week. Have a great week.